Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Hawaiiverse podcast, a podcast that supports local by keeping it cool by being cool. I'm your host, Kamaka Diaz, and how's it? Pehea oi. Before we introduce our awesome guest, I just want to remind you to head to Hawaiiverse on Instagram to win a $100 gift card to our Hawaiiverse website, where you can buy hundreds up to thousands of local products from Hawaii local businesses and help us in our mission of supporting local. So head over to Hawaiiverse on Instagram to enter and win. All right, let's introduce our guest. Our guest today is a native Hawaiian, Korean, Chinese strength and conditioning coach from the island of Oahu. He is a writer and former college head strength and conditioning coach, where he programmed and coached 21 collegiate sports. He is also an author, husband, and father of 3. Currently, he works out of his own training facility, Cool Performance, while continuing his creative work with the Cool Project, which has amassed over 85,000 followers on Instagram. As a coach and consultant, he teaches people what it means to build a cool body and live a cool life. He is the coolest guy in town. His name is Daniel Aipa. Aloha, Daniel. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
How's it? Pehea oi. Mahalo for having me.
Hey! To hear that in person,
To hear in person.
Oh, it's made my day. We're done. Go home. That's so awesome.
Thanks for having me here today.
Yes,
Appreciate
mahalo
it.
for coming.
Yeah.
I'm really stoked to have you here. I've been following the Cool Project for a while. I see it all over Instagram. My little brother's name is Cool.
Oh, awesome.
So I see Cool physically and online.
There you go.
Yeah, so what you've been able to accomplish, the story behind it, I think is super amazing. You're doing an awesome job, so I'm excited to get to know the man behind the Cool Project.
No, mahalo.
Yes. All right, so let's get right into it. I always like to start at the beginning, the classic Hawaii questions. Where are you from? Where are you grad? And what was it like growing up?
So I'm from Kailua, Oahu. And then whenever people ask me this question, though, where you grad, I always like to ask them, where do you think I grad from? So I'm going to... Well,
okay. I wouldn't have known, but just like right before you came, I was looking up something online and I saw where you graduated from.
Yes. So,
and Iolani.
Yeah, Iolani, yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed Iolani, though.
Iolani, and then, back in, I'll put my age in there, 2003 graduated. And then
looking young because of the Asian blood.
Yeah. And then we got, growing up, I was lucky to grow in a family. My mom was a hula teacher. And a lot of, just a family kind of the neighborhood. And my dad was also a Native Hawaiian practitioner as well. And, being introduced to the culture at a young age, was very grounding for me. And, it kind of gave me like more of like a foundation to build off of, right? But at a young age, I tell people that I actually was born with a hearing impairment, which led to a very bad speech impediment, to a point where I had to go to speech therapy, had to go ear surgery and everything throughout my younger years. And I developed like this, basically a fear of speaking overall,
Not even public speaking, just speaking.
Just speaking, period. Like asking a question, I would just freeze up. Like even if it's just like an auntie or uncle, my mom would be like, "Oh, ask auntie for like a cup of water." I didn't want to speak, So seeing where throughout those years, right, you're experiencing all this, people looking at you differently, treating you a little differently. It kind of takes a hold on you, takes a toll on you over a long time. But throughout the years, that's where sports came in. I realized that I could also express myself through sports. And that's where being an athlete, being around physical activity was where like my outlet was, where I could be like on an even playing ground, right? And then it just went from there.
Yeah. Well, and what sports did you play?
Oh, I played all kind of sports. I grew up basically 3 sports every year, kind of a athlete, but it was mostly baseball, football. I did a little bit of paddling, track and field, wrestling, kind of just dabbled in all those different areas. Yeah.
And what were you the best at?
Baseball was my sport. I love baseball. But I got injured at a young age, threw my arm out. Football was also right up there too. People are always surprised when I tell them I was a center at Iolani.
What?
But then people look at it's Iolani, right? Everybody.
Well, I guess everyone's small.
Everybody's a little smaller on Iolani. I don't know how it is now, but I was a center at Iolani. So.
Oh, no way. Wow, that's so crazy. Well, why did your parents choose to put you in Iolani over Kamehameha? If you said that your dad was a Hawaiian practitioner.
So basically, I never got into Kamehameha.
Oh, yeah. They're lost.
Yeah, so I went for both schools and I got into Iolani and just had to go there. Obviously, like for me, growing up in Kailua, I wanted to stay Kailua area. That's where all my friends were and everything. With my parents, they wanted they strive to do their best. That's what I feel like a lot of parents try to do. So it was difficult, going to Iolani. It's not a cheap school, and it's when I tell people, oh, I went to Iolani, they're like, oh wow, like that's so like, oh, it must be smart. It's like I struggled, like the way that I mean, I don't want to say anything bad, but it's a great school, like academic wise, you really prepare people for college and like just to go like think beyond. But for me, the way I learned was just a struggle for me, no matter how much extra help I got, no matter how much the teachers try to help me out, it was just a constant struggle. So you also have that little bit of a inferiority complex already built in with you. And then now you're at a place where you just don't even feel good about yourself, how you're performing in the school system, right?
Yeah, and there's higher expectations.
Higher expectations, yeah.
Yeah, seems like you would have fit in at a Hawaiian immersion school.
Yeah, I think so.
Because that's where I went. I went to Hawaiian immersion school, and it was really hands-on.
Yeah.
Where you were out in the mala, you were like doing different things, like physical things as well as having teachers in a smaller class with students who, I don't know how big Iolani is, a couple thousand maybe. Or my school, I had like 20 kids in my class, 100 kids from K to 12, So yeah, I know certain education isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we have to remember is not everybody learns the same.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just expect everybody to go to Iolani and come out the same. Everybody to go to Kamehameha, everybody to go to Hawaiian immersion school and be the same.
Yeah, so I was lucky to, so a lot of my school also took place at home, being around my family, grandparents, aunties and uncles, showing me how to do certain things or just giving me those life lessons, right? Where I kind of like took more value in and learned more about myself through those kind of lessons. Yeah.
Did you end up becoming more confident when you got to high school? Because you said you ended up having a speech impediment or a hearing impediment, which led to speech impediment. So at what point did that kind of go away, or just you were able to overcome it?
It's still haven't been able to overcome it, honestly. It's still something that's kind of still there. Those little insecurities and those little those voices in your head of doubt and kind of questioning what you're doing. It's still there, but I'll say like, I can't pinpoint a specific point. What I can say is that I remember when I was in 4th grade, I had to read, like, stand up in front of my class or the school and say like one line. It's like a sentence. But I remember it was like a big deal for my family because I never spoke or anything. So like everyone was there. My grandparents were there. My brothers were there. And I just wrote like, I think it was like 5 lines. And all of a sudden everyone just like stood up as if I won the Emmy. They're like, oh my God, like he spoke, in public. And that's a big, kind of a big memory that I have in my head of a big win moment for me. Yeah.
That just goes to show how important encouragement is to younger kids.
Yeah, big time.
That's so true because when we had Bretman on, Bretman Rock, excuse me, Mr. Bretman, he was saying that he never felt out of place because his whole family was just always so encouraging of him. Like anything he did, they were so supportive.
So I feel the same way because, like my family was the exact same thing. Like they're so encouraging me. They push me to like make me feel better about myself. When I'm coming home not wanting to speak, like I would only speak in our home. Once I leave the home, I'm like in a whole different world. I shut down. But then they're always trying to make me feel more comfortable as I go outside in the world and trying to like just be more comfortable in my skin, right, out there.
Yeah, and sports was like your escape from everything.
Yeah, it was my escape. It was pretty good. So it was kind of when the people would give me a hard time. It was like, wow, I'll see you on the field.
Exactly. Let's settle it on the field.
Yeah, settle on the field. And then all of a sudden, people were like, oh wow, he's actually pretty good at sports. And then this kind of goes from there.
Yeah, I played sports all my life too, and I've talked about this with other guests as well. Just how important sports are for really kids in their development, and just learning social skills, and also learning how to succeed, how to fail, how to come back from wins and losses, or how to win gracefully and lose gracefully.
Totally agree.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned from sports?
The biggest lesson is to listen. People ask me, like, given my background being like coaching in college and everything, coaching all these different athletes, a lot of people ask me like, what's the one thing that like an athlete should learn how to do? It's like, be coachable. Listen, be coachable, understand you don't know everything. That's the best thing that you can do as an athlete. Is just be able to listen and take instructions.
So important. why didn't you want to play sports in college, or did you?
You know, I wanted to play sports in college. That was like my goal. You know, growing up in Hawaii, right? That's like your ticket out, right? You hear all the time, like, oh, you gotta play in high school so you can get that scholarship, get that ticket out, and go
make it to the NFL,
or something,
MLB,
you know. And and for me, I just wanted to go to college and play sports. Unfortunately, my senior year, I got kicked out of my first semester, senior year at Iolani.
Oh,
yeah. And so then that kind of made me just go down this whole deep end, right? Because all this life, my identity was an athlete, and then come to my senior year where I'm just, oh, this is gonna be the big year, you know, where hopefully I can get a little bit of scholarship, little money, you know. I wasn't like the greatest, and also not the biggest, right? So I'm not gonna go to some big, huge school, but that was my hope. But then first semester of senior year, I got kicked out.
What does that mean? So you can get kicked out in a semester only and then come back later?
I think it was
more
just
like a suspension?
Like a suspension, a long-term suspension, like a whole semester.
Wow.
You know? So, and then I was able to graduate from Iolani, like, gratefully, because, you know, after all the money my parents spent and everything, it was very taxing on me, because I felt like, you know, you feel like you're disappointed the family when something happens to you. And that just led me to this depressive state at a young age, you know. And then I just totally gave up on competition, basically.
Wow.
And I just didn't want to compete anymore. And that's where sports, so when I went to college, I didn't want to play sports and everything, but that's also was kind of like a blessing in disguise, because that's what led me to strength conditioning, you know.
Instead, just kind of on the opposite, and instead of in the student, you become the teacher.
The teacher,
yeah. Which is interesting, because you say you weren't ever the best student.
Yeah.
But now you're a good teacher.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, right? Like, you kind of figure out ways on what way would you want to be taught, you know?
Yeah.
And you try to do that. What was really cool was interesting was when I went to college, like, you get this work award, right? So you can help pay for college and stuff. And then I chose to be in the gym, and I was passing out towels to the athletes. So now I'm passing towels out to all the people coming in, all the football players. And in walks this coach. And the coach looks at me, he's like, why are you passing out towels? Why aren't you at football practice? And I told him, I don't play football. He's like, well, what about baseball? They're trying to train right now. I'm like, oh, I'm not playing. Come to find out, he's from Maui. Oh, okay. And he was the strength coach at that school.
And what school is this?
At the University of Redlands.
Oh, okay.
No, Scott Freaky. That's Southern California.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like by San Bernardino, Claremont, and Laverne area. But he was from Maui, Scott Freaky, and he kind of just introduced me to the world of strength conditioning, and I was hooked from there. I saw that there was another area where I could go into where I felt like, okay, like, I don't want to compete anymore, but I can help other people instead.
What was it about that drew you into that?
I think it was just the relationships you're building. You know, it wasn't too much about like the drills and the workouts. And for me, that's just like, that was just the fun part, you know. But the real work was creating that relationship with the athletes, creating the programs, making sure there's a buy-in. Because you can have the best program, the best coaches, but if you don't have the buy-in, you have nothing, you know, and you don't have like their commitment and everything. So it's about, as a coach, you're trying to also make sure that they understand that you're coming from like a good place, that you generally want to help them and be there for them.
Yeah, that's so important. I think some of the best coaches I've ever had are ones where you had this nice relationship. You could joke. You weren't just so scared to do anything
there was no
wrong.
Fear, you know. Yeah. You know, and what's really cool is that you, like, even to today, I mean, I haven't coached in the college area. I think I left in 2011 was my last time before I moved back home, or 2012. But there's athletes still back then who hit me up, give me their big wins. I just got married, coach. I just have a baby, you know.
That's awesome.
And so it's kind of cool to hear, like, almost 10 years later, they're still contacting me, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you sometimes, and it could be different in like sports, because sometimes you do see the immediate result. You coach somebody, and then like a week later, a couple of weeks later, especially with lifting, strength, and conditioning, you can see the gains.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's physical, tangible results. Whereas something like this being, I don't know, like for example, when when I was in Peace Corps Madagascar, you know, volunteering and doing things, you know, sometimes you're thinking, oh, am I even making a difference in these kids' lives? I taught English, like. Sometimes you don't realize the effect or the impact you have on people until years later. Right. So even like I said, you probably had people where you saw immediate results. Some people that maybe didn't see results until years later. Yeah. And when they come back and tell you like 10 years later, It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, it is. And but it goes back to like our kupuna always telling you just got to plant that seed and let it grow kind of thing. And take care of the people that you interact with, because you never know, right? You never know what the interaction is going to do for that individual.
Yeah, or how many puas it's going to sprout. Yeah. Or seedlings that spread out and grow other trees or whatever it is. Wow. So you graduated, you barely graduated high school, went to college, and you were doing the coaching while you were still in college, or you graduated and then you? So I started doing like a kind of like a undergrad thing. You said the work thing.
Yeah, like and then it was like almost like a internship.
Okay.
Then right after college, I was offered to be an assistant, and then I was just kind of there. Yeah, from there.
And what kind of athletes were you coaching?
Oh, so it was 21 collegiate sports. So it was like football, baseball, softball, soccer, diving, cheerleading.
Every little thing.
Yeah, all those things. And there's only, it was a small school, but there's so much different sports.
Ping pong, bowling.
No, ping pong bowling. You got me there. But it was one of those things. Yeah, but it was one of those things where it was just like, it was a small school. We had limited resources, so you had to be creative, right? Mm-hmm. And you had to work hard in order to get the results that you wanted. So it was a good fun. It was exhausting, but at the same time it was a competition. It was fun. It was a good environment to be in.
Yeah. And then you playing sports growing up, you like that competitive.
Yeah.
You had that competitive nature.
And now you're on the other side. You're not really there, but you're there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're competing with yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. So how did the Cool project start? I know you started something called the Aipa project, right?
Yeah.
And that transformed into the Cool project. Can you tell us about that story?
Yeah, so the Aipa project was basically, this is when like blogs were a thing, right?
Like Tumblr?
Yeah, almost like that, but it was like blogs was a thing. I had like a WordPress place, and we were just talking about, and I'll talk about fitness and health, the Aipa project, and the whole line was build a cool body, live a cool life, And this is back in 2009. Where I started writing about this stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy because you see it these days. It seems like it's a new idea.
Yeah, exactly, right. But it was back in 2009 where I started the Aipa project. This writing, about fitness and health, about me going through this process of learning about the culture and kind of learning more about myself as well. And then all of a sudden, people started to kind of connect with it. The shift happened when I moved back to Hawaii. So in 2013, after getting married, I was looking for a job. In Hawaii. So I was living in California, came back home, I got my master's, did all these different things out in California.
What did you get your master's in?
Education administration.
Oh, okay.
So then I sent in all my resumes to all the different schools, like asking, can I coach here? Can I help out here? And this got rejected after rejection after rejected. And that was kind of a bummer, like you're hoping like, you're told like, okay, like go to school, go away for school, learn all this stuff, get all this experience, come back home, and it'll be all ready for you to do your stuff. And that's what I was hoping that would happen. But when I did that, I was just getting rejection after rejection. And so then I decided to start the Cool project. And then that's where I was like, I'm just going to start my own thing, do it my way. I want to continue coaching, but then also have this creative outlet as well. And then that's where the Cool project came.
Right. And is this the Cool project as the Instagram? Or the Cool project as the fitness? As everything.
It's
so it's all...
Yeah, it's all incorporated,
okay.
And and it was more just like, I just want to take my name out of it as well. Right? It was that transition, well, do I want to continue with the Aipa project and make it like something, or do I just want to take my name out of it? And that's what I chose to do. I didn't want to be the Aipa project.
Yeah. So I know when I see the posts, you incorporate Hawaiian a lot.
Yeah.
And what's the reason for that, and why Cool, Yeah. For people that don't know what it means, maybe they think the God, maybe they think just the Hawaiian definition, maybe they think my little brother Ku. Who knows?
Yeah. So and that's the most common question to get is why Ku. And when I decided to go that route, I talked to my ohana, the people who I kind of like consult with, and I tell them why I want to do it. And I look at Ku as its most simplest form. It means to stand upright, right? To be anchored, to be grounded, and that's what I focus on. And people, well, Ku is also the God, right? And I was like, and they're like, what about the God of war and all these different things? And I said, like, yes, he's the God of war, and it also plays a part of it, right? We have our own daily battles within ourselves, but there's also the other side of Ku, right? With the ulu tree, where he, sinks into the Aina, goes into the ground, sacrifices himself for the betterment of the village and his loved ones to become the ulu tree, to feed the people, and that's another side of ku. So you have this wide spectrum of who ku is, or what it means to be ku. And that's something that we go through on our day-to-day basis. Like, when do we not have to be ku, right? Like, we're just sitting here right now, like we're thinking about reflecting on ourselves, right? And that's a ku moment, right? Because now you're anchoring within yourself to bring up all of these memories and these stories. And that to me is ku, and makes you stand a little bit taller, makes you walk a little bit taller as well.
I fix my posture after you saying that.
But people gravitate to that, and they see like, oh wow, you're standing a little bit different. You know, like you're exuding this different type of mana, like what's going on, and it's just this mindset of that I am working on standing ku. You know, and it's a journey, it's a process. Yeah. Some days it's harder than the other days, but it's always, no matter what you're doing, make sure you're always checking in with yourself so you can root within yourself, anchor, and stand tall.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love how you take such a simple word, 2 letters.
Yeah, 2 letters. 2
letters, maybe and a half if you want to count the kako.
Yeah.
And you just expand it, and that's the beauty of the Hawaiian language, where one simple word can mean so many things. And then when we talk about kauna, the hidden meaning behind everything, like I wouldn't even have thought about the whole God side of it and the whole ulu tree and all of that. But with Hawaiian language, you're always looking deeper, you're always reflecting, and that's a cool thing. Yeah,
that's a cool thing. And, you know, people ask, well, why do you use the Hawaiian language? It's like, you know, I think it's great that you went to immersion school. It's like, I wish, like you mentioned, like I probably would have done good in that. I think so too. But I wasn't given that opportunity, and didn't have the access to that. And so I never was given the opportunity to learn the Hawaiian language, you know. So me sharing, like kind of diving in and sharing more of the Hawaiian words and everything is part of my way of connecting with the language myself and learning more about this vocabulary, trying to figure it out on my own, you know. And there's so much people out there who are great resources as well, who's been a huge help. And but it's just one of those things that's why I choose to add in these Hawaiian words, because it's also kind of grounds me as well to find that connection, you know.
That's awesome. How much of the Hawaiian culture did you have prior to this? Like, not just with, you said your mom was a hula dancer.
Yeah.
Like, did you dance hula? Did you know some Hawaiian words, you know, besides just like the pidgin words?
Yeah, you know, it was a very, you know, the Hawaiian language for me was very basic, you know, not too much words. I did dance hula at a young age, you know, and I remember someone asked me, do you remember the first hula dance that you did? I was like, yeah, it was Boy from Lapa Hoi Hoi from Auntie Irmgarda Luli. And I had the honor to actually dance it for her, you know, when she was still around. And I think that was my first hula dance that I learned too. And then I remember also like going down to the beach, you know, scrubbing the ipus and everything with my mom and all the aunties, and I was weaving the baskets and stuff. So, and then over the years, you know, I learned and go into, you know, almost like the halemua, right? The house of men, where I was introduced to lua, you know, and then you learn about the Native Hawaiian art of warfare and kind of that stuff. So it was very much where the ku part starts coming in for me, you know, when I started learning that part.
That's interesting, because like it seems like ku, when I think about it, is more of a masculine kind of thing. How do you think females relate to it, being the ku?
You know, and that's kind of one thing that I try to share is, it's like, I don't mention masculinity, femininity. I just mention energy. It's all about energy. And you know, when we had our space, like our gym and everything, and before we had to close due to COVID, but you know, people expected that when they came into the gym, it would be a bunch of guys working out, but it was all wahine. You know, it was probably 90% wahine. You know, and it was all cool. It was still, everything was cool, right? But I think what people see is that it's just an energy that forces them, or not forces them, but this makes them reflect on what's best for them, you know. But what's most important is being in a space where you feel like you're safe to be ku as well, right? Because sometimes we don't find ourselves in a space where we feel comfortable. And then what do you do in that situation, right? Usually I just tell you, you just got to leave that situation, right? Because no waste of time, no waste of energy, you know? So for me, it was really much creating a space where people felt that they were seen and heard and understood, and no ego, you know? So when people think, oh, but ku is all masculinity, all like, you know, like hard head and all this kind of craziness and violence and everything, was like, I could bring back to the gods, right? To those stories. It's just like, you have ku who sacrificed his body to become the ulu tree, to out of love, out of protection, out of, you know, providing for the ohana and the people, you know.
Yeah, there's no ego in that.
There's no ego in that. You know, that's complete unconditional love right there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. Did you also think about how it's almost a pun and play on words? I can't help but not make it into a pun.
Yeah, you know, it was definitely one of those things.
It keeps it fun though.
Yeah,
honestly.
it keeps it fun, and that was one of the things where I wasn't even expecting that, but then as I started thinking about it, it's like, oh, it kind of just becomes a pun.
Keep
you
it
know?
cool.
Keep it cool. Just be cool. Stay cool. You know, like all this stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, and so I was just like, oh, that kind of just worked out, you know. And you know, I could have done a lot with that, but I chose, you know what, I'm not going to go too much into that those puns, because I kind of want to still have that level of groundedness before it gets kind of out of hand, because you can get out of hand with that. Yeah,
and then maybe people won't take it as serious.
Yeah, and that was kind of a intentional thing for me. You know, I wanted to create something that was a little more, had more intention behind it, a little more groundedness, a little more like of a a little bit serious, but not too serious. Yeah.
Cool. When did you start the Instagram?
So
that just,
yeah,
I don't know when it blew up.
It's been about a year actually.
Oh, just a year?
Yeah.
No wonder, because I was gonna say I feel like I've only recently seen it in the past year.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. But 85,000 in a year, that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it just came around the time doing what everyone was kind of going through at the moment. You know, because before, like, I had like the cool side for the fitness and workouts, and we'll do workouts and fitness stuff and everything. Even when the pandemic started, I was giving out free workouts, doing online coaching and everything. But all the coaching that we were doing always led to these kind of conversations that I'm sharing right now. You know, I always thought of like fitness and workouts as just a vehicle to get to the real problems, you know, and creating that space where people could be a little more open and share a little bit more and actually go through these processes of healing and strengthening. So that's where, when we lost the space itself, I was like, well, how can I replicate that into the digital space? And
so it was a pivot, really.
It was a big pivot, you know, because it was like, first is all coaching, and I still do coach today. But then I was like, well, I don't have a space anymore, you know, and I was getting tired of showing myself and working out and exercising and talking about fitness. So I was just like, at the moment, I was like, okay, we just pivot and let's just focus on the message that we usually focus on when it comes to the coaching aspect of it. And that's where we are now today.
Wow. And so what was your first post when you first started it? Was it always just like a message, some words? Because if you haven't seen the Cool Project, I'm talking to the listeners, just go to Cool Project if you're not driving. Just check it out on Instagram, the Cool Project, KU. And it's these inspiring videos, pictures, messages. That's very relatable, you know? And if you recall when we opened up the podcast, we said, how's it Pehaoi? That's one of the things that Daniel says in a lot of his videos. Yeah. You know, what is the reason behind that? How's it Pehaoi?
You know, the how's it Pehaoi, it's really about slowing things down, you know? And because I think in today's society, it's just constant, you just go. You're just constantly scrolling. You're constantly just onto the next thing, the to-do list, a schedule. You get the kids, you get the work, you get so much stuff pulling you from all different directions. So I decided that I want to create stuff that how's it Pehaoi as a way to just be able to pause, you know. And there's a deliberate pause after Pehaoi because it makes you think, oh, how am I doing? So just giving that moment for individuals, for people out there to just reflect, have that moment for themselves to reflect on what's going on, you know, to pause and then go back to whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
But that pause is key for everyone.
Definitely. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to when people say, you meet people, you cross paths, and I say we see each other on the road and we're just like, hey, how's it? How you doing? You know, same thing as Pehaoi means how are you doing in Hawaiian. Not every time it's genuine, right? Yeah. It's just like more of a thing we say, just like, how's it? How you doing? Oh, okay, good. Okay, bye. Yeah. Like nobody really sits down and be like, how are you doing?
And you know and people ask me like, why do you always ask that? I was like, one, when we had the space, that was like the first question I would ask everybody who walked inside the door was, how you doing? You know, like, how's it? How's your day? Because that's where, you know, when you look at the gym, everybody only focuses on that 1 hour or so that you're in the gym. But all the work really happens outside of the gym, you know? So it's not like when you come into a space where you're going to work out or exercise, you don't just automatically be like, okay, I don't care what's happening outside. This is where the work happens. It's like, no, the work happens outside. You got to flip that perspective, you know, and then go along with the currents that the individual is going through at that moment. Yeah.
So how do you come up with your ideas on what to post?
A lot of it has to deal with what I'm going through as well. You know, I try to take people along on this personal journey. And then also just kind of listening. Again, like listening is so key of when you see all these different things going on in people's lives and you're kind of just listening to what's happening, observing. You know, I love observing people and seeing what people are talking about and what people are going through. And then that's what inspires me to create these different messages. You know, and what's been a really big thing is the Kamahina Project has been a huge one.
I don't know.
Kamahina Project is the one that who shares like different moon phases.
Okay.
You know, and it talks about like the meaning of each moon phase, and it kind of gives you like an idea of like what's going on and if it's a good day for this or that, you know.
Yeah.
And that was a very big thing for me because, you know, going back to the culture part, my Hawaiian name is Mahina Manulani.
Oh, that's your middle name?
That's my middle name.
Mahina
Manulani.
Manulani. Yeah. Oh, nice. Beautiful.
And it was you know, and that kind of goes back to this whole thing where when I was in the situation where we're sharing Hawaiian names, right? It was like a warrior class, and all these guys were sharing their Hawaiian names, and all of a sudden I come to my name, Mahina Manulani, and everybody laugh at me.
Yeah,
you know, and
it's Mahina is usually a female.
Yeah, female name, right? So then, but everyone laughed at me, and even the instructor was like, "Hey, that's not a Hawaiian name. That's not a warrior name." So they told me, "Go home and find out what's your real Hawaiian name." So that kind of dissonant to me, right? Because now you're like, you already have this inferiority complex outside of being Hawaiian. Now you're back with your people, and now they're telling you you're not the right. That's not a Hawaiian name at all.
Yes, then it goes back to that feeling of, am I Hawaiian enough?
Exactly, and it's like, oh, well, then who am I then, right? Like, what is? And then, you know, so then for a long time I just took my father's name. His name is Kaha'ulu. You know, when I say, oh, Kaha'ulu, that's a Hawaiian name. You know.
Dang, that's crazy that they would say that.
Yeah, and then so it hasn't been. And I'll be honest, it hasn't been this past year until I actually like feel comfortable telling people my Hawaiian name is Mahina Manulani.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Dang. Well, okay, since we're on this topic, I was going to ask you this after the Instagram questions because I like to get to the deep stuff after the Instagram questions. But since we're on the topic, I want to know what is one thing you felt insecure about being Hawaiian? Because that's something that a lot of people relate to, being living here, being Hawaiian, maybe not knowing the culture as much.
Yeah, you know, for me, it was at a young age. I mean, the fact that I grew up with this speech impediment already, and like living in Kailua, which is predominantly also very fair out there, you know.
To be put it in nice terms.
You know. but it was one of those things where, you know, you just felt like you're the one who was stupid, the one who was always late, the one who was uneducated, wasn't going to get anywhere. You know, there has been countless times where I would go into an establishment and I'll be asked to leave, you know, and I'm like, why? Like, I'm just looking, you know, like,
and this is when you were young?
This is when I was young. This is probably when I was like, maybe like 6th grade or so, you know, like, and so already you have this inferiority complex going on with yourself. And like, wow, like you start to believe this stuff, right? You start to go into your own mind that you're believing like, okay, yeah, I am dumb. You start saying these things. Oh, I'm just being dumb, you know, like, or I'm lazy and so forth. And, you know, I was very fortunate to have a good family system that would like instill these lessons. So going back to, I always felt safer when I was with my family, you know, and when I was outside of that, I felt very vulnerable. Like I was like an open target, you know, which made me very much a homebody, you know. So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. So do you think you were more insecure about your impediment, or like the fact that you were Hawaiian but you didn't feel like Hawaiian enough?
I think it was a bit of both. You know, it was that one, I felt my speech impediment caused me to be looked upon differently than my peers looked at me differently. And then also like giving those situations where you're in a space where you're amongst your people, right, being Native Hawaiian, and they look at you differently as well. Yeah. Like I was able to get some work done on cacao from Killing Nunes. You know, I was honored to do that, and my family was there. My brother actually was the one who was stretching the skin and everything. So it was a very big moment for me. It meant a lot for me. Then I remember I was at a function and someone asked me in Hawaiian, and I understood it, right, about that and who I got it from. And I mentioned Kelly Nunes, and it continued speaking to me in Hawaiian. I was like, oh, you call him Maya. And all of a sudden, it just shut off. And they just like gave me that look. We all know that look. And it just walked away. And I was just like, so you're getting it from all those different angles, right? And that's where like ku really comes in for me. Like I'm getting it from, I'm going through this whole process, and then finding this one word ku is what keeps me grounded. You know, because it goes back to, it's about what you think about yourself. And it took me a long time to figure that out. You know, it's not about the opinions of others. It's about how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I just want to make a comment on that interaction about like speaking Hawaiian, because I've experienced stuff like that, but on the other end where I talk to people in Hawaiian, or they say that they can speak Hawaiian, and people say they speak Hawaiian to a certain level until you meet like somebody at the next level, right?
Yeah.
Like if you know, all three of us in this room have a very little knowledge, you're very confident in your Hawaiian because you're the best at that level. Yeah. And then you meet somebody else at a higher level, and they're like, oh, hike awai kila Hawaii, and you're like, oh, like no, like I know a little bit. It changes, right? Yeah. But for people who are at a higher level, we have to be mindful of people and very, very, very careful not to discourage them, because interactions like that really do things to people's mind, and it really kills their confidence. And this is with learning any language. You know, one thing, you have to be confident in yourself and be okay with making mistakes, because you're gonna make mistakes, whether you're learning Spanish, Hawaiian, French, whatever it is. For example, like when I learned Malagasy, when I was in the Peace Corps, make mistakes all the time. Say stuff that I think is right, and you know, people laugh at you, and you're gonna have to be able to laugh at yourself. But there wasn't ever a time when people are like, "Oh, you're dumb." You know, like first of all, if you're able to laugh at yourself, it doesn't matter if other people are laughing at you. But as long as you're trying, I tell people this: "O kahua o ka mea nui." Just trying is the most important thing, and having good support. Like if I see somebody struggling in trying to speak Hawaiian, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you can't even speak Hawaiian. What, you told me you could speak Hawaiian, but now you can't speak Hawaiian. Oh, you're so dumb. Like, no, that's not going to do anything. That's not going to help our lahui. That's not going to perpetuate the culture. That's just going to do the opposite. Yeah. So I just kind of just going off on a tangent because it is a situation that many people find themselves in. And I think that's why the Ku Project has kind of relate to people, because it's just that little bit of Hawaiian in there gives them a little more of a confidence. Like, okay, like, all right, new word here, you know, like, or at least seeing those words in different ways. It's like, okay, it's part of my daily like Hawaiian lesson almost, you know, even if it's not, it's just a words can do so much. Yeah. You know? And when you hear it out in public, you're like, oh, you can kind of get the context, because Hawaiian's a contextual language. Yeah. So even maybe somebody says something to you, and in our daily lives, some people, they use Hawaiian language, you know, and just being able to know that, it's so cool. If somebody even says something like, oh, yeah, it's on the Mauka side, and you know what Mauka means. You know, you're like, it's like, oh, my kai, and you know, that's good. You're like, oh, okay, that means I did good. You know, it's just those small things are like, oh, let's hele, you know, let's go. Let's go. Those small things, they're all little wins, and they all add up. And that's why I love what you're doing with the Ku Project, because you're starting small, you know? You're not going to learn Hawaiian just from the Ku Project, but it creates a foundation. And it's very useful words, even words that I haven't even seen before, or it's not used very commonly in my vocabulary. I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's a word I can probably use later. Cool, yeah. So I think it adheres to all levels of Hawaiian speakers, beginners, advanced, fluent speakers. Yeah, and even for me, like you mentioned, like I make plenty of mistakes on that stuff, you know, and I get called out a lot. Yeah, I was going to comment on some. But it's one of those things, right? It's like, okay, like I understand it's a learning process, right? You're going to mess up, you know, and you want to be respectful. You know, you're trying to be as respectful as possible, but you're trying. That's the thing, right? That's the most important thing, is that you're trying. Yeah. So, but when you try in the eyes or in front of 85,000 followers, there's a lot of pressure, because even for me, posting things in Hawaiian, even though it's my first language, I'm fluent in it. Yeah. There's sometimes where I still feel insecure writing things in Hawaiian, speaking in Hawaiian. Like if I record a video in Hawaiian, I'm thinking, okay, did I say everything right?
Yeah.
Did I say ka or ko? Did I say, this correctly? Did I use mako and kako right? It's a lot, because we don't want to be wrong in front of everybody.
Everyone.
And look, I'm a fluent speaker, and I'm saying that I still get insecure speaking Hawaiian too.
Yeah.
So if I feel like that, it's okay if everybody else feels like that.
And
it's part of learning.
It's part of learning, and it's and everybody should just be more like a little more like encouraging about it.
Yeah, and easier on ourselves.
Easier
on ourselves. Also, everybody is going through their own journey of this. Okay, so I love how you incorporate the Hawaiian into everything you do, and I feel like it's a very modern thing. Like, we have this renaissance of Hawaiian. There's the old school, there's the new school, and I feel like the times we live in, we're trying to understand like what it is to be Hawaiian and how do we fit in this modern era where there's technology, social media, all of this. So what I want to know, and I want to hear your opinion on, what does it mean to be Hawaiian in 2022 in these times?
These times. Yeah. It's that's a tough question. I think Koko is the main thing. But obviously we want to go a little more deeper than that, right? Like, what does it mean to be Hawaiian? I feel like it's all about being truthful in who you are individually, right? It starts with the self. I believe Hawaiian people are very selfless. They want to take care of other people. But at the same time, in order to take care of other people, we need to focus on taking care of ourselves. And that, to me, has been a part of Hawaiian that's kind of been put to the side. I feel like before, Hawaiian was all about this, you just give. You give aloha, welcome, come, and it takes a toll on people, And for me, growing up in a family, and I think many people can relate to this, is like we have so much ohana who are like that. They feel like being Hawaiian is like you just gonna, and it is part of being Hawaiian. You'll give the shirt off your back to somebody else. You'll welcome a stranger into your house, treat them like family, and that's what it means to be Hawaiian. But there's another side is like you can only give so much. And I think now today is also understanding that point.
Creating boundaries.
Creating those boundaries, understanding that, your aloha is not infinite. It can be exhausting because we've seen so much of our ohana who give so much and they are exhausted. And no one takes the time to be like, how are you doing? Pihioi. Like maybe you need to take the time to yourself. Maybe you need to go somewhere, distance yourself from people because you're just constantly giving. And no one's taking the time to check in on you.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is part of when it comes to being a Hawaiian, is now learning that aloha is this exchange, or even your mana is an exchange. It's a currency, And if we're constantly giving and we don't take the time to build up ourselves, then what are we giving? How much can we give then?
Yeah. That's a really good point. I love how you worded that. And I feel like, naturally we love to give, we love to share, because Hawaiian is an inclusive culture.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget to take, and I don't mean take as in just like steal, like just grab, like, but like to take what we need in the time, in the place, in the environment. Take time for ourselves, and like you said, reflect and take a step back to realize, okay, how am I doing? How is this affecting me? Maybe I need to, ask for a little bit more help before I can give more of me.
And I think that goes in, obviously, like the culture aspect of it all is like trying to instill culture and reconnecting with your culture, even just a tad bit, on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, but even the way you live is also Hawaiian, right? Like how you go about your day and how you approach people, how you leave places better, how you instill mana into places that you see, people that you interact with, like how are you leaving them? That's also part of being Hawaiian. And it's just one of those things where you try to think about what can you do to not only better yourself, but better other people.
Yes, I love that. And I asked you what it meant to be Hawaiian in 2022. And I don't think time really matters, because what you say, I'm sure our kupunas were doing the same thing back in the day, where they were showing aloha. They lived it as a lifestyle, where aloha, being Hawaiian, was a lifestyle, whether you had the koko or not. Yeah. So, I think to sum it up, being Hawaiian now is the same as being Hawaiian back then, as long as we're living in that same way with aloha. And
but it also goes back to like how we were when we do like a protocol, right? Like it's like when you want to enter someplace, you gotta ask for permission. You know, you gotta, what's your intention? Why are you here? You know, what you bring in here? Yeah. You know, and that's a boundary already right there. And I think, but a part of us kind of lost that that protocol. Yes. You know, that interaction, that introduction is like, okay, I come. This is who I am. You know, that's why in the beginning, right when we did our podcast, is like we did this whole like interaction, like, okay, this is where you come from. This is who I am. Because for me, like, you know, I'm coming into your space. You know, so I want to be respectful. I want to show my aloha and show that I'm humble and that, you know, like I want to add value to what you create here. You know. And I think that right there is also a Hawaiian.
Yes, yes. I love it. Kako'o. Okay, speaking of Hawaiian, I want to try to segue into nutrition, Hawaiian nutrition, right before we get into Instagram questions, because I don't know if you ever heard of something called the Waianae Diet. I'm sure you have. Yeah. It's one of my favorite books that I read about this study that happened in 1991. 90s, yeah. Yeah, so it was the study which they wanted to promote Native Hawaiian culture and well-being, where here I have it right over here, which it's based on a traditional Hawaiian diet, which is high in complex carbohydrates and fiber and low in fat. That involves 19 Native Hawaiians, who had an average weight loss of 17 pounds after 3 weeks on the diet. Yeah. So then the benefits noted in the study included decreases in cholesterol, blood sugar, after using Native Hawaiian foods and ancient Hawaiian cooking methods. And, you know, some of the foods they ate were kalo, which is taro, poi, sweet potatoes, uala, yams, breadfruit, which is ulu, green seaweed fruit, and small amount of fish cooked using ancient cooking methods. And a lot of the foods were steamed or served raw. And reading that study was so cool because it reminds you how efficient, sustainable, healthy our pupunas were, our ancestors were, and how far away we got from that, right? Because now with the introduction of all the other like cultures, you know, which is a good thing, you know, we got awesome food, we got Korean chicken, we got adobo, katsu, everything, but, you know, with that comes fried food, with that comes macaroni salad, you know, with mayonnaise and all of that, which causes a lot of Native Hawaiians to have one of the worst diets. And here we are living in the healthiest states, one of the healthiest states in the United States, if you consider Hawaii to be part of the United States. But we have some of the most unhealthy people. Yeah. And that blew my mind. Yeah. Yeah.
No, you know, it's for me, and I remember that study. What was that? The doctor was, it's gonna mess my mind up. But, you know, that study right there showed, I mean, I remember coming across like an old essay about the physique of Native Hawaiians, the ancient Hawaiians, and it talked about how all these like settlers and voyagers and, you know, came across the Native Hawaiian people, and they were writing all these essays about how Native Hawaiians were one of the healthiest people they came across. You know, they're lean and muscular. Even the women were like very lean and strong, and, you know, had nice teeth and so forth. And you look at where we are today, and even also looking at that study you just seen, you know, and it goes back to when people are saying like, oh, Hawaiian food is unhealthy, you know, and I was like, no, Hawaiian food is probably one of the most healthiest things you could do. When you read out those foods, all those foods are all dense foods, calorie dense foods, right? You can't eat a ton of it. No, you gotta, in order to like take in all these calories, you're gonna have to eat a lot of it, and by the time you're gonna be pretty full already. But that's where those complex carbs are, right? Like the poi and the uala, they're all like, they fill you up. And you have the fibers and so forth. But then when you look at today's food, it's all processed, and so you're adding more calories to the food that already has calories, which is where things go wrong. So what I try to tell people is like, Hawaiian food is one of the healthiest. It's the local culture around the eating, about eating copious, big amounts of food is where things go wrong.
Yes, we didn't eat kalua pig and laulau every single day.
It was for an event. It was a celebration, right? It wasn't like an everyday thing. It wasn't every week thing. It was a celebration. But now it's like constant every day. So it was. So that's where, like, for me, it's always been, you know, trying to also eat as close to that as possible is important. Obviously, you know, there's so much ono food nowadays, right? It's so hard.
It's hard to resist.
You know, but it's just being that mindfulness, right? Like, and then I always tell people when it comes to nutrition, when people ask me about nutrition, is you think about these 3 questions. Like, do I like what I'm eating? Right? Like, okay, yeah. How do I feel when I'm eating this food? You know? And how do I feel after? When you have those 3 questions, you kind of look at food a little differently, because we'll take like a random food like loco moco, right? Oh, loco moco, I love loco moco. You know, I like it. I feel good when I'm eating it, you know, but if I eat too much of it after it, how do I feel? I don't feel so good. I feel tired, feel sluggish. So maybe I got to eat less of that. You know, and so those 3 questions are very important, because it makes you more mindful of what you're consuming.
Yes.
Because it's not about taking away what you like, right? Like, you're not going to get rid of all that stuff, all the good stuff, right? But being more mindful of how you feel while you're eating it and how you feel after you're eating is very important.
Yes, definitely. Being mindful of what you put into your body.
Yeah.
I never really paid attention to that until I started intermittent fasting a couple of years ago, because by doing that, I feel the effects of things in my body. If fried food is the first thing I'm eating after an 18-hour fast, it's not going to make me feel good. You know, if I eat like something small, banana, yogurt, then I ease my way up to something, you know, a little bit more dense, you know, rice and meat, then I feel good. But also you feel the effects, like not even like I'm talking like full or bloated, but like how much energy you have.
Yeah, the energy is key.
If you feel sluggish, if you feel, you know, like you have a headache, or like all that matters. Yeah. So I love talking about nutrition.
Yeah, because you know, it's because it's an important part of our health and wellness. You know, like especially as Native Hawaiians, like that's part of our cultural practice. Like, you know, doing the kalo, eating the ulu, breadfruit, and the uala, and all that stuff is all part of our culture. You know, so that's something that we can all challenge ourselves to do. Right, is eat more in that way. You know, and see what happens.
Yeah, I think once it becomes more normalized to eat kalo, uala, ulu every day. Then I think things will change. I just feel like it's not as accessible as other things are. You know,
it's too easy for the other things.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have to try to switch our stance on what is convenient. You know, what is, if we grew our own food, it'd be more convenient to go to our mala, our garden, to pick that food instead of driving to the store and buy it. You know, so just switch in our mindset of what is convenient. Like at first it's not convenient to grow your own food because you're going to have to wait. It's more convenient to go to the store. But once you have your everything going, it's way more convenient just to step outside your house, pick your own food, then driving to the store, finding parking, going, waiting in line, buying things that maybe aren't locally sourced, maybe have GMO, maybe, you know, isn't the most nutritious thing, you know, so it's all you know, how we define certain things.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to get into Instagram questions real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll go to the second half of the podcast. Okay. Auntie Kavehi wants to know, do you plan on opening a public gym?
That's one of the biggest questions you get. You know, it's I would love to open up a gym again, or at least a space. You know, that was one of the, when I started the Cool Project, that was my biggest goal, is get a space so I can create more of an environment where we can instill these type of practices, collaborate with individuals and Native Hawaiian organizations and stuff, so forth. And when that thing was taken away, you know, it was like, it was a hard hit, you know, because it was like the dream was there and then boom, gone. So it's still taking me a little while to get over that whole thing. But yes, at some point we would like to open up a space again. Maybe a little bit different than what we had before. But yeah, that's the goal.
What was it like before?
It was just strictly a gym, like a warehouse space in Kailua. Weights and everything. But then we were incorporating more of like the culture part. Like we had a poi making class, you know. And
no way.
You know, like,
that's a workout right there.
Yeah, it's a workout right there, you know. And one of our brothers inside there, he led the class, you know. And it gave him like, I'm teaching what I'm passionate about. Right. And then you start to learn about what all these different individuals, what their skills are. Yeah. And then you want them to be the leader of it. Right. Like you want to encourage them to stand up and you take the lead on this. You do this. Give them the kuleana, give them the, you know, the space to grow and lead. You know? So that's important.
That's cool. So in the future, you definitely want that to happen.
Yeah. In the future. You know, and when the timing is right. When the time's right. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Next question comes from Sierra Tempura. She wants to know, she says, love your page. Helps me learn Olelo and they make my day. And are you related to Ben Aipa? I'm sure you get that question a lot.
Yeah, I get that a lot. You know, I am related to Ben Aipa. He's my father's first cousin.
Okay.
They grew up together a lot. My oldest brother has more of a connection to Uncle Ben and Duke and and those guys, but because he's more the surfer in the family. I'm not much of a surfer. I was more of the land person, you know. But yeah, I'm related to him. You know, what I did learn about him was that he was not only a great surfer, but also a great coach and teacher. You know, so
you honor him in that way.
Yeah, be a coach and teacher.
Side, that's fine. I was a land person my whole entire life because I played sports, soccer, football. I play basketball now, and only recently I got into surfing. So trying to discover my ocean side. And what's crazy is my dad said the side of our family, our Sonora side, our Japanese side. His dad and his older brothers, because my dad didn't grow up with his dad. He said that they were all surfers.
No way.
So now me and my brother are into surfing now. So it's cool that we're kind of bringing that into our ohana. Even though when I grew up with my dad and mom and stepdad, stepmom, all my siblings in Hilo, nobody surfed. So just me and my brother now. So it's cool to, you know, trying to honor your ohana. In some sort of way. Cool. Okay. Next question comes from MKSD. They want to know, how do you discipline yourself? And I think you can take that as anywhere in fitness and
I think for me it's always understanding your purpose. You know, like why you're doing what you're doing. It's changed over the years. You know, before I had no kids, it was different. You know, it was to be more successful and all this kind of stuff, you know. But when the kids come into the picture, it just changed a lot more for me. They really grounded me a lot. And it's more about finding that purpose and that reason to be disciplined, you know, to make sure that you're showing up for those individuals who rely on you, you know, and who are looking for you for guidance and help. And when you stick onto that, that's going to keep you disciplined, you know. That's going to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you are doing the things that you need to do in order to better yourself, because you have to show up, you know, on a day-to-day basis. You know, it's not like you can just be one day, be like, hey kids, I don't feel like being here today, so, you know, I'm Pao. If you're on your own, it's like, no, they rely on you. And that's just overall, even from fitness standpoint, nutrition standpoint, it's like, how is this going to help me? You know, how is this going to better myself? How am I going to be cool, right? Is this going to make me feel cool, or is this going to make me feel like, oh, like I'll bust up, I'm a jang, you know? So I think understanding what your purpose is and giving yourself a real reason to be disciplined is the most important thing you can do.
Yes. Having goals, having things to look forward to, a purpose. So important. Awesome. Okay. My Hawaiiverse team wants to know, describe yourself with one word. So I had this question, but I feel like you're going to say cool. So I want to add on, describe yourself with one word, one Hawaiian word that isn't cool.
It would be malie.
Malie?
Yeah.
It's calm,
slow, you know. And that's what with working with the Cool Project, I've learned that it's important to just keep it calm. You know, tread the waters lightly. But it also goes back to that Olelo no Oeao, my ho'oni kawai lana malie. Do not disturb the water that is tranquil, right? Because like be calm, but also understand that, you know, there's also the other side of Ku. If you need it, it's there, but you keep it there, you know, like unless you need it.
Malie.
Malie.
Yeah, you could. I feel like that's a good middle name. Something Lana Malie.
Yeah,
you know?
It is nice.
Kai Lana Malie. That's a good Hawaiian name. Something Kai Lana Malie. Oh, I gotta. Yeah. Cool. Don't steal that, anybody. I might use that for my future kid. Okay. Okay. There's one more, but I stole this question, so I'm gonna ask it at the end of the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Because we kind of just talked about it, but I'm not gonna spoil it. But okay, mahalo everybody for those Instagram questions. Make sure you leave some for the next episode, and maybe your question will make it on the podcast. Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about like you and like your entrepreneurial spirit, you know, like your business side, because what you've done, you created a business, you know, even if maybe that wasn't even the goal, right? A lot of times we do these passion projects and they turn into a full-blown business. That's why we're here today at this place.
And the thing, you know, congrats, man. You're everywhere too, man. The Hawaiiverse is everywhere.
I appreciate the support. Yeah, we only just connected maybe like 2 weeks ago.
Maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah. We kind of just like hit up each other.
Hey, and I was like, you gotta come on the podcast. It's it's cool how social media works.
It
and you can connect like that. Okay, so I want to know what is your best business advice for somebody starting out?
Best business advice would be solve a problem. Make sure there's a problem that you're passionate about and figure out a way to solve it. You know, and how you do it is totally up to you. You know, for me, it was to make health and wellness more accessible to Hawaii, and especially to the Hawaiian community. And that was my passion. That was my problem that I felt that needed something. And that is where the Cool Project started. You know, is to find a problem, and how you do it is going to be different, but the why should always remain the same. Yeah.
Oh, love that. I feel like we're on the same mission.
Yeah,
right?
we definitely are. You know, because you're supporting local. You're trying to get all these stories out. And it's been great to see Hawaiiverse podcast just everywhere, because the stories that are being told are stories that need to be told.
Yes.
You know, and you're learning from all these different people who are coming from different backgrounds, different expertise, different stories that they're of their own. So it's super inspiring to hear that. So mahalo for creating this space.
Of course, yeah. I think the more people you meet, the more experiences you gain, even though you're branching out, especially when you travel and whatever you learn about other people, it makes the world smaller in a sense where everything's more relatable. Yeah. You know? So when you see things, you see people, representation, native Hawaiian, Chinese, Korean kids who struggled in school, you know, who played sports all their lives, and you're like, hey, that's just like me. Yeah. But look where he is today. Yep. That's inspiring stuff right there. Yep. So exactly. I love that. Yeah. Cool. Solving a problem. Yes, that's what entrepreneurship is. Oh, English is hard sometimes. Okay, what do you think was the most challenging point in your life?
Most challenging from a business standpoint?
Let's go business standpoint and just like personally. Oh, yeah. You know, if you have something else to add besides, I
think the most difficult point in my life would be when I got let go from the school. You know, when I had to get kicked out. It was probably one of the lowest points. You know, and I'm a big advocate for mental health. You know, but it was definitely one of those points where I needed some serious help. As I mentioned, I gave up on competing. Right. Basically, I wanted to give up on competing in life, and it took me down that road. You know. And luckily, I found the strength to kind of get myself out of that and go a different direction. But I feel like many of us find that moment where, or individuals out there maybe can relate to that, where you find those moments where you just get tired of competing in life, and, you're looking for a way out. And I came to that point, at a young age. And that was probably my lowest part. And then those times always still kind of creep up, here and there. But that's why I feel like it's important to talk about, because who knows who's listening, who's probably going through some of these similar times. And that's why cool has been that one word that changed my life, because it makes me grounded, keeps me grounded. When I get into my low times where I'm getting like those depressed moments where I'm just kind of like full of anxiety and just kind of like looking for a way out, I just reconnect with, okay, cool, like keep it cool, stay cool and everything. Yeah. And that's been a guiding light for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like your outlet too, because you're a writer. Yeah. You have a book, right? Yeah. And we can talk about that too. But yeah, being able to have an outlet to express yourself, to share these things, and like when you post content on Cool Project, I'm sure so many people comment like, "Oh man, this just hit me so hard, so relatable." I needed to hear this. When you hear those things, it makes you feel like you're heard. Yeah, and you're not alone.
And then the ones that really hit me is when you get the ones at 3:00 in the morning. Like when you like kind of like looking at your messages and you see one that's sent to you at 3 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, like, what's going on? And then they say something like, this whatever you posted really helped me at 3:00 in the morning. Yeah, and that kind of makes you like, wow, like hits you, right? But also makes you realize the kuleana you have. So people ask, why do you post every single day? Like, I feel like it's my kuleana, and it's not like I'm posting huge things, right? It's just a simple stuff, right? Keep it simple, keep it straightforward.
Keep it cool.
Keep it cool, yeah. But that's basically why, like there's this sense of kuleana as well that you have to show up, So yeah.
Yeah, hey, you put the cool in kuleana.
Yeah.
Did you always envision yourself doing something where you were having a big impact on people's lives?
No, they're not at all. But
what point did you realize, like, oh, this is actually becoming bigger than it is? I have not power, but like, I have influence over people.
You know, it was never my intention, honestly. It was just doing what I think many of us people in Hawaii are told to do. You know, to live is to give, to make sure you're helping other people and try to find that thing that you can do in order to do that, right? And that's part of being Hawaiian, right? Finding what skill you have and what, you know, whatever you feel passionate about, and figure out ways on how you can help people. Whether it be, you know, taking people to your farm to teach them how to farm or get them more connected to the culture, whether it be fishing, whether it be teaching people how to surf, you know, whether it be entertainment, you know, to inspire people to be themselves and so forth. I feel like that's what's most important, you know, is that we're here to serve and to give back to the community. So that's the main focus.
Yeah, it's a very Hawaiian thing.
Yeah,
serve and to give back.
Yeah,
and I just want to clarify too. In the podcast, we always talk about like it's such a Hawaiian thing. Other cultures do it as well. I just want to, you know, I'm not trying to exclude other cultures and be like, oh, only Hawaiians do this. You know, it's just we say that because that is our culture. Yeah,
it's part of us.
You know, and it's unique to us, but it's not unique to everybody.
Yeah.
All other people. So, yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of other cultures that do that. So, just kind of wanted to put that disclaimer because I realize we do that a lot. And, like, a lot of clips we share is just like, oh, you know.
It's a Hawaii thing.
It's a Hawaii thing, yeah. But, yeah, it's other cultures, too. Yeah. But, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay. All right, so when it's all said and done and, you know, years from now, and you're looking back on your life, how do you want to be remembered? You know,
the whole thing has, I think about my grandfather when I think about this kind of stuff, you know, because he was that rock in our ohana. And after you pass, you know, you're missing that foundation. And, you know, I just want, at the end of all this, I just want to believe that I help people stand taller. You know, that's it. You know, I help people realize that they are enough and who they are and what they want to do and what they believe in, that like you are enough. And I just want to make sure that people stand a little bit taller.
Lava kupono oi.
There you go.
The hat he has on right now. It's like, you're good enough.
Yeah.
Love that. Kupono is my middle name.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great name.
Love it. Okay. Awesome. Beautiful answer. I forgot because we just talked about your book. Can you tell us about your book?
You know, the book was written a long time ago, and I haven't read that book in a while. I'm scared to even look at it. You know,
it has 9 reviews on Amazon.
Yeah, I think it was back in 2011, right before I was trying to that was when I was diving into like entrepreneurship and trying to figure out things. And
did you self-publish?
Yeah, self-published. Nice, okay. You know,
I did the same.
Yeah, self-published. It's kind of like, you know, I'm just want to try it out, figure it out, and then it was pretty good. I mean, when I was home, you know, I remember Miley Meyer gave me the opportunity to talk stories, and was in Namia, Hawaii. You know, in the book section. I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, you know, this is so great. And it was entitled Aloha to You, you know, and people ask me, oh, why is Aloha to You? And it goes back to the whole ku thing, right? Like, I want to make sure that you're also giving yourself aloha. You know, we don't do that enough. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. We don't show ourselves enough love sometimes. So that's what the whole thing was about.
Oh, awesome. Gotta check it out. Do you have copies on you, or it's
no?
All you
it's probably in the dust right now. It's been a long time.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Okay, cool. Aloha to You.
Yeah.
Aloha to You. Okay, nice. Do you think you ever write another book?
Yeah, you know, it's always, I think we all have a book to write.
Yeah,
you know,
we all have a story to tell.
So there's definitely some things that has been written, you know, but putting it together is a whole different story though.
Yeah. Did you design your book cover and everything? And
yeah, I designed the whole book cover, did the whole layout on my own.
Wow.
So like we talk about like how we learn. Like I'm very much a hands-on person. Like I gotta learn by doing.
In doing you learn.
Exactly, and that's the way I learn. I gotta do it on my own. I gotta figure it out. And yeah, so I had to do it on my own.
Okay, so did you have a background in like graphic design or content creation? Because we were talking about it before the podcast with Jordan. Like he was very impressed with the aesthetics of the Ku Project on Instagram.
Yeah.
were you just a natural at designing, or how did you learn that?
You know, for me, it was just like something I was always interested in.
Mm-hmm.
My family is very artistic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they're very creative. And for me, it's like the aesthetics of certain things I'm drawn to, a little more minimalist.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, when you look at what I create, there's a lot of space, you know, because I'm a big believer in giving space to create space,
Mm-hmm.
you know, within individuals. So rather than like filling it with a whole bunch of words and text and images, it's like, let's focus on like this calming image and these like simple words,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and with a lot of space.
Yeah.
Because it gives you a moment to just kind of like stop a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's just been again, trying to figure out how to create things on your own,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because, you know, as an entrepreneur, you gotta wear so many different hats, right?
Yes, yes.
You're basically doing everything.
Everything in the business.
Yeah, everything in the business. And, you know, when people ask me like, oh, how much, like, is there a team? You know, because I don't really mention too much stuff, right? And I just kind of say, no, it's just me doing all this stuff. And it's, for me, it's fun. You know, it's a creative outlet for me, creating these things. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, it's very nice. How do you come up with like certain Hawaiian words? Do you just think of something you want to say in English and then you find a Hawaiian word to replace a certain phrase?
Yeah. So then for me, I always look at the dictionaries
Mm-hmm.
that my family has, or the online dictionaries and everything.
Uluka or vehevehe.org.
Yeah, exactly those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then also looking at the books that my parents have in their library, just to kind of make sure I'm using it right or properly. And everything.
Do you ask people, like, do you have somebody that you always check? Like, because anytime I have like a Hawaiian stuff, I go to my family or I go to my dad. Like,
Yeah.
oh, is this polole?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, but I remember asking Kapuna one time, is it like, Kapuna, can I use this word? She was like, sounds good. What about this word? Sounds good. You know, like, which one's the right one? Both of them work. You know, like, it's just like the intent is there, the context is there. Like, don't stress about that stuff. You know. And I was like, oh, it's easier said than done when you know, putting it out there for the public to look at.
Yeah.
And so, but you kind of just gotta listen to Kapuna too. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go with it then. You know.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Because with Hawaiian grammar and just like making sure you have the right okinas, kakos. Yeah. But I know, you know, Maluhia States. He's also on Instagram. He doesn't put any okinas or kakos when he writes, because he said Hawaiian was never a written language, or when they didn't, because it was spoken first. When the diacritical marks, the okinas and kakos, was only put in so other people could understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when Hawaiian native speakers, they wrote or they read stuff, they knew like, oh, there should be an okina there, there should be a kako, so they knew how to say that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I heard that too. I remember one of my aunties said the same thing, you know, because she doesn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's like, that stuff came on later on, you know. So then, but it does help us, you know, with the pronunciation and everything.
Yeah. I think it's important. I mean, I still use it because I went to Hawaiian immersion school and we'd get deducted points if we didn't have it. So I'm kind of scarred from that. So I'm always gonna put the right diacritical marks. So that might just be me. Okay. What is something that you wish people knew about you that they don't?
That I'm very much of an introvert. You know, people see.
I was getting those vibes.
Yeah, you know, people see like the Coup Project out there a lot. You know, talking and everything, but it takes a lot out of me. You know, like coming over here, for instance. You know, I do my pacing back and forth before I even texted you. You know, like, okay, like, are you ready? You know, you're going through this whole thing and to put yourself out there again. So that's one thing. People, even though you see Coup Project a lot, there's also that little bit of insecurity or like a little bit of a reclusiveness to me, and that's just part of who I am.
Yeah,
you know,
I commend you for you know, being brave and.
Oh, mahalo! But then you look at all the posts I share, you don't really see me. You know. And I feel better about that because before, when I was doing the whole fitness thing, I was constantly putting myself out there because you have to in the fitness world and the coaching, and that was very draining, you know. But now how I can be so consistent is because I don't have to put myself out there as much, you know, physically. And then it kind of just goes back to, you know, on the Coup Project, it was never really about me, you know. So I didn't want myself to be there. So that's where you only focus on the message or the voice. That's it. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's something that I like to reflect on. And when I started the podcast, I always got to tell myself, or before people come on, like, this is about them. This is about the guests. Because we have a podcast where, yes, I share my mana'o and we have this, back and forth conversation. Yeah. But my main goal is to showcase the guests. And it's always not a struggle, but I always have to be mindful of thinking like, okay, this isn't about me. Mm-hmm. It's about them. It's about our people, because the message here isn't to say like, for example, I always talk about how I was in Peace Corps Madagascar. Yeah. And it's hard not to talk about it because that's who I am. It was such an impact on my life, but not to get like dive too much into it because I want to know about the stories that our guests have and share their lives with others. So this kind of just me speaking out loud. And
so that's why I got to start a podcast and bring you on as a guest so you can dive more into that.
That's not where I was getting at. But yeah, I think with the whole social media thing, it's very interesting because that's such a common thing where people see you have a following on social media, you post yourself on social media, you're automatically an extrovert. Yeah. Right? Where people don't realize how exhausting it is just to take videos. When I take videos saying like, hey, we got a guest coming on tomorrow, look at my phone trash. I think
you have all the different takes.
I think I had like 20 takes the other day. Sometimes you're not just feeling it. Some days it's easier, some days you're just like, I don't want to get out of bed. I gotta wash my face. I gotta fix my hair if it's longer. And then like, look at this.
Oh yeah,
look at that. Look at this. Whoa, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 30 right there.
30 right there.
30 takes just to get one.
just to get like 10 seconds or so,
Yeah. So that's the part that people don't see on social media.
Exactly.
People see the 85,000 followers on the Cool Project, the great engagement, the likes, the success, but they don't see that you started in 2009, the struggle you had to go through just to get there, get to the point where you felt comfortable sharing your life, sharing these messages with social media, because it's a scary place.
Yeah, and it goes back to like, a big thing about social media is that, especially social media, is around like the effects it has on our mental health, you know. And I came across studies where I remember they're saying like within these past several years, the increase of depression and suicide rate and everything has just like tripled.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then so everyone's like, oh, social media is horrible. It's just like, well, I mean, there's a positive in social media as well, but they're like, well, you should get off social media because it's all this stuff is happening. But then that's even more of a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing, because
the script,
you're there, and the people are there, the individuals who are looking for that stuff are there. So you got to solve up that problem. You got to be in that position to give a little bit more light into their day.
Yeah. If I were to say something about that, I feel like it's more of an individual thing.
Yeah.
Because people are. We all perceive, me and you could be looking at this light and we see totally different things. We think totally different things, You perceive it as something, I perceive it as something else. So the same people that look at what you do or anything else and see it as inspiration, some people can, be like jealous.
Yeah.
They see success and it makes them feel bad, where other people see it and it makes them feel good.
Yep.
It's all an individual thing. So it's how your mindset is when you take something.
And it's very important because to realize that, because you're gonna have individuals, whatever you do, people are gonna criticize you.
Yeah.
They're gonna say something, they're gonna try to bring you down. And I had to learn on how to get over that kind of stuff, because you get so attached to those words, But then I also realized, like, why am I spending so much energy on those words for people who are criticizing? But then you have all these other people who are saying so much good things. It took me a long time to get over that hump. Yeah. But I feel like every once in a while, some things are said where it's kind of like, oh, that stings a bit.
Yeah. And it's so weird how we are as humans, where 99 people can say amazing things, and just that one bad comment just sticks with us, right?
Yeah. It's that just stings just a little bit too much, But okay, I'll take it. And move on to the next thing.
I think at some point, I feel like for me, luckily, I feel like I don't get a lot of hate or anything. And if I ever do, I just ignore it, because
you
got to know your truth. You got to know your value is, and
you
gotta be cool. Yeah, and you know that hundreds of people love what you're doing. So if one person doesn't love it, then that's all right. That's just one person.
Yeah,
it's all good. Okay. So we're coming to the end of the podcast. I have a few more questions. I would love for you to give some advice for kids who didn't learn traditionally in a classroom or had like certain, physical, mental, anything disabilities,
Yeah. It's find the people in your community who are doing things that you are drawn to, whether it be farming, fishing, woodworking, and all the different things. Find people who are in your community or in your families who are doing this stuff and learn from them, because that'll create this outlet that you're gonna need to cope with all this other stuff that you're gonna have to deal with, But having that sense of belonging, and having that sense of pride in the work that you're creating, will offset all this feeling that you sometimes can feel when you're in a system where you don't feel like it's helping you, or you don't feel that you can thrive in, So it's about making sure that you place yourself in an environment where you feel like you can thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about your environment. I think that's
big.
one of the big things I took away from reading this book called Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
You've read it?
I read it before.
And they talk about creating your environment, making it easier on yourself. Habits are tough, but if you make it easier on yourself, like I have a real bad habit of eating snacks at home.
Yeah.
If you just don't buy snacks,
it's not gonna be there.
You change your environment. So maybe if you're hungry and you want a snack or something, maybe you just drink more water, and you realize, okay, maybe I wasn't hungry, I was just dehydrated.
Right.
And there's science behind that too. I can get into that about fasting and blah blah blah, but we'll save that for another episode. Okay, cool. Mahalo for sharing that.
Yeah.
What are your future goals? Like, what do you plan to do beyond this? Is cool your thing that you wanted to do, or like this is it, this is the, like for me it's Hawaiiverse is like I found what I love to do, this is it, I'm sure I'll do other stuff, but this is my baby, this is my main thing,
No, that's what Ku is, Ku is that thing. Again, like in the areas that we go into will always be different, but the mission remains the same. The why and the purpose behind it will always be different. I mean, the same, but how you do it can change. Just like how we did this, how I had to pivot, right?
Yeah.
From having a space and everything, I had to pivot to be more in the creative aspect of it all, which has opened up so many different doors too that I wasn't expecting. I mean, I'm sitting here talking stories with you, so I appreciate that, and telling the story of the Ku project and everything. So, but yeah, Ku is basically the life's work that I'm working on right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about future plans for like your family? You have 3 kids, right?
Yeah, 3 kids. Our youngest is 3 months. Our youngest.
Oh wow! Congrats.
Yeah, so
very recent.
So we have 2 boys and the girl came along.
Oh, nice.
So now it's we're good.
Oh, that's like my ideal situation. Yeah. 2 boys and 1 girl.
So our oldest is 6, and then we have the 3 and then 3-month-old. Oh, so nice. It's definitely an adventure. We both work from home, so it's a lot of juggling, but it's all part of the adventure. Yes. And so for them, it's just to make sure that they are raised in this almost basically the same kind of environment I was raised in to help them thrive as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, what is dang, what was I gonna say? I just blanked. I'm gonna ask something about your kids. Do you think you wanna put them into sports, just like how you were?
It's kind of up to them. Like my family they didn't push sports on us. It was kind of more like we were just surrounded by that because I was like one of the younger ones in the family with all my cousins. So I was like, cousins, my brothers were playing sports. I want to play sports. They weren't really hard on us with the sports stuff, and that's kind of how I am with my oldest one too. Like he's kind of more curious about this, trying different things out. Like he wants to like play soccer and then basketball, and he's curious about dancing and everything. And I'm like, yeah,
whatever you want,
go for it. Like. See what's out there. Whatever speaks to you, go for it.
What makes you? What is the number one thing that you're afraid of as a parent? Because I'm sure, right now I don't have kids, so I'm just thinking, yeah, I'll be chill. Everything's all right. I don't know why parents are so, like they get so scared and worried about their kids. But I'm sure when I actually have a kid, it's gonna change.
Yeah, it's biggest fear.
Yeah.
Biggest fear is not being able to show up for them. Like I'm very aware of how important the presence of a parent is, or even just a role model and a guardian is, and making sure that my health is taken care of, making sure I'm doing whatever I need to do in order to provide for them, to make them sure that they feel safe, so that takes me showing up every day. And that's basically my biggest fear, is that one day I'm not going to be able to show up for them. So laying that foundation within the family is so important for me. So yeah, making sure they're there.
I think one aspect that people overlook is being physically fit.
Yeah.
Mentally fit, being healthy, because if you're not healthy, then that's going to translate to other parts of your life.
Exactly.
You can't show up for your kids. You can't kick a ball with your kids.
Yeah.
You can't throw a baseball with your kid. That's why I think fitness, health, you don't have to be a chiseled god or goddess. You don't have to have a six-pack, but just being healthy, being active, so important.
So important. And that's the holistic approach to health and wellness, right? And that's also what our ancestors were.
Yeah.
They were healthy, they were active, they were doing all different types of things. So being like that, being more like them in the health aspect of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. This is the most important part of the podcast. I need to know, what is your life hack?
Life hack. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Life hack. I could be like super cliche and just say just live cool kind of thing. but it's actually making sure that you do one thing for your mind, for your body, and for your spirit every day.
Can you give us an example?
So like one thing would be like to read or learn something new, just to kind of keep the mind and brain activated, because we can become very monotonous in our day-to-day grind. So find something that you're interested in doing, a hobby or something, doing that every day, reading something every day, listening to Hawaiiverse podcast, just kind of open your mind.
Or watching like 20 videos of cool projects.
Then you have for your body, do something that feels good for your body. It doesn't have to be a workout. It can be going for a walk, can just be meditating, can just be resting, whatever you feel like you need to do. And then spiritually, for me, from a Native Hawaiian perspective, be more in touch with your culture. Like practice some kind of piece of your culture every day. Rather just being a pule prayer, using a Hawaiian word here and there. Visiting a lo'i, you can do that. Doing an oli and everything, but it's just taking care of those three things every day over a period of time. You'll see the change.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that life hack. Gonna implement it in my life.
Yeah.
I try to read.
Yeah, and some days gonna work, some days not gonna work.
Yep. I didn't read last night, and that's usually what I try to do. So, yeah, I think I've been able to be easier on myself over the last year or two. Just like, you feel like you got to do it because, like, I said I was going to read every single day or whatever. And if I don't, then I'm not smart, or I can't be a reader. But, it's some days you're tired.
Yep.
It's okay. Some days you want to eat that dessert.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay. Treat yourself. Okay. All right. So I got 5 rapid fire questions before we end. Favorite workout?
Favorite workout? Oh, kettlebells.
Kettlebells?
Yeah, kettlebells and the steel mace. Yeah, so basically, like, you ever saw a steel mace before?
Is that
it's
like
that rod with the steel ball at the end?
And you just like whack it on a tire? You
kind of just like do all kind of different things. You can whack it on a tire. It's like a sledgehammer.
Okay.
But there's a lot of rotational stuff. It's kind of like a weapon almost.
Oh, wow.
So that one, and it's a weighted and with a kettlebell. Any kind of exercises.
Yeah. I like HIIT workouts. Like body workouts.
Quick ones. Yeah, especially nowadays, with the kids, it's like you just got to go fast, like do what you can because it can't be an hour, all of a sudden the kids coming running in, climbing all over the equipment. So
maybe when they get a little older, they can
they can work out.
Yeah, you can coach that.
Yeah, I can coach it.
Awesome. Okay, favorite dessert?
Favorite dessert? I'm a huge fan of chocolate cake.
What kind? Where can you get the best chocolate cake?
You can't buy it. You gotta
make them.
Because it's it's the one thing I asked for on my birthday. It's just my mother-in-law's chocolate cake, and that's all I want.
Nice. What about chocolate deboche cake? Like
from Zippy's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's there.
Right on. Okay, favorite local place to eat?
Favorite local place to eat. You know, I'm biased. I grew up eating Zippies.
I love Zippies. Zippies, come sponsor us.
Yeah, Zippies, come on.
Yeah. What do you get over there?
I'm always a surf pack.
Oh, okay. I'm a zip pack guy.
Zip pack guy.
Yeah.
See, I like the meat.
Korean chicken, but if I had to choose between zip pack or surf pack, I like zip pack.
Yeah, you know, Zippy just reminds me of like coming home.
Yeah,
and then
feel good. It's home,
and then like my mom would always pick up zip pack for us. You know, it's like the first thing we eat coming off the plane.
Yeah,
so
I love that. I love Zippies. I tell people like, I could eat Zippies all day. Yeah, I don't eat it that much, but
yeah, same here.
You can never go wrong with
no.
Zippies. Yeah. All right, favorite olelo no eao. This is the question I wanted to ask you.
My favorite one is Ikalelo no Keola, Ikalelo no Kamake. Yeah.
Nice.
And where's there's life and where's there's death, and that's something that is I constantly think about, and it's very important for all of us to be mindful of the words that we speak.
Yes, yes. Words can, in words there's life, in words there's death. Yeah, definitely. Okay, favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Anything that has to do with being creative and arts. You know, I love working out. That's kind of just what I do, but what really makes me and a hobby thing is working with my hands and creating something. You know, whether it be a graphics, drawing, spray painting, you know, like that kind of stuff, building something where you can just kind of lose yourself. That's definitely like...
Nice. Yeah, you are really hands-on.
Yeah.
So do something.
Yeah, just got to do something.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This just popped up in my head. Favorite protein?
Favorite protein to eat?
Yeah. Oh, I guess that too, but I was thinking like protein powder.
Protein powder. Oh, I haven't, you know what, to be honest, I haven't done protein powder in years.
Oh, you don't eat protein?
No.
You just get it through food?
Just food, yeah.
That's the best way to do it, but
that's the best way to do
it's hard for everybody to get that.
So then, I haven't done protein powders for a long time.
So how much protein do you get? You eat a lot of like lean meats?
So I eat meats, a lot of eggs, a lot of eggs, and then mostly meats and eggs. You know,
fish.
And then for me, like my workouts have changed over the years, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not in the gym 5 days a week. Like I'm more like 3 days a week. You know, if can. Where it comes to resistance training, so the amount of protein you got to intake is going to be less. I kind of did that on purpose because I was kind of tired of buying protein powder, you know. But it is a good supplement for people who need to improve
like
more.
me.
Yeah. If you're constantly working on exercising and everything, protein supplement is key.
Yeah.
You know,
or need to gain muscle.
Gain muscle. Like one of my favorite ones was ATH. You know, ATH Sports out in Hawaii. They have a great protein powder. When I used to take protein powder.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah, just curious about that. All right. Well. Excuse me. Mahalo for coming on the podcast and talking stories. It was really awesome to meet you. I've been looking forward to this for the last couple of weeks.
Mahalo for creating a safe space where I could feel like I could just voila out and talk stories with you.
Yes, I'm happy you feel like that.
Yeah, mahalo.
Yes. Do you have anything else you want to add? Where can we find you on social media? You
know, it's one of those things where, as you mentioned, like Cool Project has kind of taken its own like path, and you know, you'll probably come across at some point. You know,
if you haven't already.
But at some, you know, if it's there for you. I always talk about how everything that I do is for you. You know, like everything we put out there is for you, to interpret it on your own. So mahalo. Everything he does is for you, for cool. Yeah. I just want to give you like 5 million taglines. And it can go on forever. Yeah, I know. I probably shouldn't, because then I'm just gonna ruin the image of cool. Yeah. I mean, like, okay, just now he's just trying to put a bunch of dad jokes and puns. All right, don't hire me. Save your profile and just stay far away from. Nah. You know, but really, like seeing where Hawaiiverse podcast has become now, it's very inspiring for me as well. You know, and hearing the stories it's you know, the community appreciates that. Yeah. So mahalo. Yeah, I'm happy that we get to connect with each other through this and create community online, and then you know, it translates into person. You know, like one day I'm sure we're gonna have events where we're all together. I mean, spoiler alert, I want to have like annual Hawaiiverse parties with all the past guests. Oh, there you go. So I think that would be really cool, and just to connect everybody, all these people doing amazing things, and put them in the same room. Yeah, see what happens. Can come out of that, see what happens. Right? So yeah, can't wait for that. All right. Well, any last things to say before we wrap up? Mahalo. Yeah, mahalo to you. Keep doing what you do and keep it cool. Shoots. Mahalo, Daniel, for joining us on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Check us out on Hawaiiverse.com, the best place to support local. Spread aloha, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. New episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review.
I'm your host, Kamaka, and you'll hear me next time on the Hawaiiverse podcast. Hui ho.